President Trump delivering his first major address as commander-in-chief to a House, Senate, and nation divided. Many Americans hoping for unity, but anticipating fireworks, the fiery, divisive rhetoric that has characterized the national discourse for over a year. But instead, what they got was the president. Here's ABC's David Wright.
Members of Congress, the President of the United States.
Tonight on Capitol Hill, President Trump preached unity to a country that's deeply divided.
Each American generation passes the torch of truth, liberty, and justice. That torch is now in our hands, and we will use it to light up the world.
This politician, who's often accused of fanning fears, even race baiting, began his speech with a shout-out for Black History Month.
Tonight, as we mark the conclusion of our celebration of Black History Month, we are reminded of our nation's path toward civil rights and the work that still remains to be done. We are a country that stands united in condemning hate and evil in all of its very ugly forms.
This politician, elected promising to drain the swamp in Washington, tonight stressed continuity and common purpose.
I am here tonight to deliver a message of unity and strength, and it is a message deeply delivered from my heart.
Tonight's tone markedly different from his inaugural Jeremiad.
Rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Tonight, baptized by the rain here in Washington, rehearsing his speech in the backseat of the Beast as he set off for the Capitol, we saw the New Testament Trump, promising America some sort of redemption.
Every hurting family can find healing and hope. Our citizens deserve this, and so much more. So why not join forces and finally get the job done and get it done right?
This is the first time that President Trump has been back here on Capitol Hill since the inauguration, and like that speech, this is one of the rituals of democracy. A big address aimed partly at the American people, but maybe mostly at the lawmakers who work here at the Capitol. Congress is a bit of a tougher crowd, isn't it?
This is a tricky crowd. This is a tricky room.
Tonight, he rose to the occasion, calling attention to surprise guests in the presidential box. He was able to soften his policy proposals and blunt some of the criticisms he's faced. The longest applause by far was for Karen Owens, the widow of Chief Petty Officer Ryan Owens. That's her sitting next to Ivanka Trump, fighting back the tears. Her husband killed in action in that raid in Yemen a month ago today. Her father has been critical of the administration, calling for an investigation.
Ryan is looking down right now, you know that, and he's very happy because I think he just broke a record.
I thought it was his best speech that he's given. It was deliberate in his discipline. It was the longest level of discipline that I've seen him exercise in a speech.
Tonight had all the trappings of a State of the Union. The rituals, even the wardrobe, showed the restraint of decorum. The vice president and the speaker wore blue ties, not Trump red. The first lady in all black, in stark contrast to many female members of Congress who wore white, honoring women's rights. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi had asked her party members to be respectful. Some of them gave Trump's proposals the thumbs down, but they held their tongues. The agenda Trump set out tonight in broad brushstrokes is pretty much what he's been promising all along. Stronger defense, lower taxes for corporations and for the middle class, tougher borders, and that wall.
We will soon begin the construction of a great, great wall along our southern border.
But this wasn't just the bumper sticker approach. Tonight, Trump held out the possibility of comprehensive immigration reform.
That I believe Republicans and Democrats can work together to achieve an outcome that has eluded our country for decades.
And the question is can he keep that discipline he had tonight and still be the outsider that's fighting for change on behalf of Americans that he is representing in the country? That is a balancing act that he has not been able to do thus far.
On ending Obamacare, he was more direct.
Tonight, I am also calling on this Congress to repeal and replace Obamacare. Obamacare is collapsing, and we must act decisively to protect all Americans.
His legislative agenda, a tall order, both to pass and to pay for.
Now, I have to tell you, it's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that health care could be so complicated.
Republican lawmakers have been getting an earful on that in their districts.
It needs to be repealed and replaced.
Many of them facing angry crowds at town hall meetings, mobs almost shouting them down. Tonight, the former governor of Kentucky, giving the Democratic response, urged Republicans not to act rashly on Obamacare.
Does the Affordable Care Act need some repairs? Sure it does. But so far, every Republican idea to replace the Affordable Care Act would reduce the number of Americans covered, despite your promises to the contrary.
A new poll out today finds nearly 60% of Americans doubt the truthfulness of information released by the Trump White House. And 2/3 of Americans consider the president's use of social media to be reckless and distracting. For more than a month now, he's waged a constant war on the media.
I turn on the TV, open the newspapers, and I see stories of chaos.
But there was none of that tonight. No press bashing. Today, for the first time, Trump admitted the White House shares some of the blame for the rocky start the administration seems to have gotten.
I think I get an A in terms of what I've actually done, but in terms of messaging, I'd give myself a C or a C+.
I would imagine you'd give him higher marks tonight.
I think that's somewhere we can agree. He was totally clear. He stayed on message. He was very disciplined. I think I'd give him, as far as messaging, an A.
I'd give him an A. He is change, right? He's disruptive change. That's what he was elected to bring to Washington. Well, change is scary. And over the past month, he's made it even scarier. What did he do tonight? He made change safer, calmer. It's going to get him at least another couple of months to get an agenda on the table and maybe begin to get some things done.
Here is a guy who's been mired in fights that I think Republicans and Democrats both would agree in some cases are trivial, saying tonight,
the time for small thinking is over. The time for trivial fights is behind us. From now on, America will be empowered by our aspirations, not burdened by our fears.
the test now is whether he can follow through. I'm David Wright for Nightline in Washington.